you ever, I'm sure you probably did, Wagner's youngest daughter, Bailey?
A union, you're able to support a family. You're able to have a good retirement where you're not a burden to society. It's so many things combined. It's about voting people in that are for apprenticeships, that are for good paying jobs, family wages. One of the most important parts of the union is educating people on that their vote counts, your votes matter. You know, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in right now if a lot of people had paid more attention or even just gone to the polls to vote. So it's just critical. And I know a lot of people don't like the unions meddling in politics, but politics is what runs our lives these days. So, but it's all people working for the common good and working to better themselves and better the folks around them. So it worked for me.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, just about everybody in my family is union or was before they retired. We had a teamster, we had an electrician, had educators. It was a good life. I can't complain. So I was their first female foreman, and that happened in '81. It was fun. I ran a lot of really nice jobs for them. My favorite, I think, was Experience Music Project up in Seattle. It was just so abstract, you know, and I was there for over a year. And a lot of it, I was just there by myself and an apprentice until it got down towards deadline time. The I-beams are all, you know, twisted and shaped, and it was just so peculiar that it was a project labor agreement. Everybody there was union. There was shifts running pretty much round the clock with the iron workers and the guys putting the skin on the outside. So the plasterers were there, we were there, rockers, tapers, framers, everybody. And then when it came down to the taping, we had a lot of women, so a lot of times I had all-female crews. Oh, it was just fun. Gosh, they'd give me a job to do it, and I'd get the girls, and every one of us ran the tools. Every one of us walked stilts. We could do not the forklifts, but the scissor lifts, the snorkel lifts. You know, there was nothing that we didn't do. And we got it done, and we made money. I got a wall full of plaques in there that's all from, you know, high dollar earnings for the company, you know, and we'd get the plaques and we'd be shaking them to see where the money was hiding. But when it was me and the girls on a lot of the jobs, we each had, you know, and Carol, I can't forget Carol. But I always ran the bazooka because I was tall. And Jolene ran the bazooka too. Julie always boxed. She was a boxing maniac. And Barbara would do the angle box, and Carol would take whatever was left over, you know. But it just was fun. We'd get stuff done and made money doing it, you know, for ourselves and the company. Yeah. But, you know, and some of the girls had problems. Like I remember one time we were doing a job for Sellon. It was in one of the high rises. And the Sellon company had this team of old Finnish carpenters. And they were, we were in our 20s, so everybody's old. I don't know how old they were. They seemed old. But I remember one of them giving Julie crap one day about, you know, that she was taking a man's job and she should be home with her kids and this and that. And Julie was only probably up to here on me, but just tougher than a $2 steak. You know, she was tough. And she just laid right back into him. She said, I got every right to be here. And we never, you know, she never had any problem with it again. But there was a couple of the girls that had issues with guys, but I just never did. I don't know if it was because I came in riding a motorcycle and I didn't play the game with the boys, especially. I didn't go fishing in that pond, and you know. But I was very, very, very protective of the girls on my crew.
So how did you transition from out in the field to in the office? Was there, like, did you want to, like, was it, like, in your brain of, like, wanting to do it? Or was it kind of one of those things that just randomly happened and then you stepped up to the plate?
Well, when Bob Matson was our business manager, he asked me about it once because Jeff Kelly went into the council as an organizer, field organizer, and at the time I didn't even know what an organizer was. Just didn't know until he told me. So anyway, Bob Matson had broached me about running for business rep, and at the time I really enjoyed working in the field. I enjoyed running work. I liked being the boss. I liked my crews. I liked moving from job to job to job. So I said, no, I wasn't ready for that yet. And one night after a union meeting, Jeff and Mike offered to take me out for a bite to eat and approached me again about being the business rep because Jeff was doing both business rep and director of organizing, and it was just too much, yeah. And he was doing a great job, but it was just, his brain must have been going in overdrive. And I was like, God, I don't like meetings. I hate meetings. And Jeff's like, oh, there's not a lot of meetings. Liars. They lied to me. It was funny. I gave Jeff crap about that a few times.
So you were one of the people, you were the person who went through and created Local 364 as actual affiliated, broke apart, drought finishers specific local. Can you tell me about that?
Mm-hmm. Well, we'd been, as you know, a mixed local with 300 for forever. Yeah. And there were just so many differences in our trades that the meetings got to where it was too difficult to concentrate on tapers issues or painters issues. And there were places where we melded, in the middle and stuff, but it just came down to why don't we have our own local? We took 364 because it was combining 300 and 1964 tapers. So that's how that number came to be. But it was a big accomplishment, and I was real proud of that. I think we just had our 15th anniversary of being a union in July, maybe? Something like that? November, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
I can't
November
remember.
1st. I've got the placard still sitting in my office.
Yeah, all right, good deal. Yeah, it's just good to be involved in your union to see what's going on and see how your money's being spent.
Absolutely.
That was mainly why I started going to union meetings. I was like, what do my dues do for me?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And it was an eye opener. So I could see what the business reps and the people were doing when you go to meetings and you get your reports from each business rep. They're extremely busy people, and the reports are very good always. So, but they've got to get from point A to point B somehow, and that takes a car and fuel and a lot of expenses. When I was doing houses, the guys I was working with they ranked on the unions constantly. Oh, they just go to work to eat their lunch, And I was like, when I started in the union work, it was like the totally opposite. Mm-hmm. When I was in houses, we'd be done by noon, go home. Yeah. And at the union work, there, once in a great while, you'd take off early, but not very often.
Not very often whatsoever.
We did the first high rises in Bellevue, and it was still just all open fields there. But yeah, there was nothing in Bellevue, nothing. The Blue Glass Tower was the first high rise down there. I can't remember even now what it was called. Washington Mutual, maybe, something. But yeah, things have definitely changed. That red T-shirt on top of that pile over there, I bought that at the Pike Street Market in the early 80s, and it's just, the early 80s, Seattle was just nothing but high rises and cranes going up. I mean, it was just a huge, huge boom. And that just says it's Seattle, something hard hat zone. But no, Seattle just definitely changed over the years. I mean, there's no two ways around that. So
It's even changed since I started.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like my first building was 815 Pine, and I was working for Annie & Johnson. First job ever. First time ever being in a high rise. Like the biggest building I ever was in beforehand was like a 2-story building.
Yeah.
And so I'd never been in a man lift, never been in an elevator. And so it was a whole different lifestyle.
I'm sure.
But it just, even from then to now, it has changed so much. All the streets have been changing.
Gosh.
And
I know, you drive down the streets and all of a sudden there's a building gone. And it's like, what used to be there? You know, it's like, it's gone.
Yeah.
Met a lot of good people. In fact, that picture up on the, whatever that is, cabinet, one of the sheetrockers there, his name was Phil Shaw, and he would draw caricatures on the sheetrock.
That's awesome.
And he would pick somebody out of the crew, and he would draw their caricature. And then he drew that one for me, because he'd see me every morning going across the floating bridge on my motorcycle, and I could strap every tool I needed on my bike. Had everything I needed, bucket and everything. And so, and there was no helmet law back then, and I've always worn big earrings. So he drew that for me, called it Hot Mud Sue.
That's great.
It's pretty cute. I've thought of him often over the years. I don't know if he's still around or not. No, nope. Well, I miss Yellowstone. I worked there for 4 summers, you know, but this was a little more money than bartending in Yellowstone.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, if you can, I mean, this looks like a really wonderful life.
Oh, it is, yeah. Yeah, we've been blessed. My husband was in construction. We met through motorcycling. We didn't meet on a job or anything, but we're going on 44 years, I think, coming up here pretty soon.
Wow.
Not married that long. We waited till we were 50 to get married. Didn't want to rush into it. So,
Same life here, you're doing the same thing.
Yep.
so, but yeah, we can't complain, that's for sure. I always wanted to live out west. That was kind of a childhood, you know, I want to move to Montana and have a horse ranch. So I moved to Yellowstone. That was close enough. But so I did 4 summers in Yellowstone, and that was the best 4 summers of my life. Just amazing living there and working there. And I worked nights there too. So I had all my days off to go fishing and hiking and playing and goofing off. But I've always liked working nights. When I started with PCS, I had a real hard time getting up in the morning. And fortunately, my boss was very kind. So, you know. But even, you know, all through the years, whenever PCS had night shifts, I always volunteered for their night shifts. I just like working nights. Nobody's calling you and bugging you and pestering you and coming out to see what you're up to. Did a lot of night shifts. Well, see those 3 little books on the corner? And this was kind of fun just because there was so much scaffolding.
Oh, wow.
And that was a beautiful mall.
That
But I don't
is.
even know what's there anymore.
Here's to you specifically, maybe you could walk us through some of the people and
Yeah. Well, this one was negotiations in 1990, or 90s, I guess it says, the taper negotiating team. So it's Chuck Brocker and myself, and this was in Jeff Kelly's office at the Labor Temple when he was our business rep.
You got one picture right here of a guy taping. You see him?
Yeah, that's Roger Kingston. He's passed away. Yeah. So, but yeah, he was a good guy. This was the first job for PCS that made $1 million profit.
Wow.
This one. Yeah, so that was a pretty big feather in my cap. I mean, I didn't do it all myself, but the sheetrockers, tapers, framers. I can't remember if there's plasterers there or not, but that was big for them. This one's EMP. This you can see all the
Oh, wow.
the crazy I-beams. That's all iron I-beams that were formed into the shape of that building. What you see is what's under that skin.
That's amazing.
It was so cool. That's one of my favorite pictures. This was Northgate Mall.
Oh, wow.
And there, everything was up in the air again. Everybody you had to have a lift. There was nothing on the ground. And we did 13 of these big barrel ceilings. And this was the crew picture from that job. Eric is on there with just, so many people. Oh, it was fun. And that was, like I said, 6 months of night work. We'd get there, I think, at like 9 o'clock at night when the mall closed.
Wow.
And then by 7 o'clock, we had to be out and cleaned up like we'd never been there before. It had to look like there was nothing going on.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was fun. And Jolene, she would get there early every night and go to the Cinnabon store and get all their ones that they hadn't sold. So 3 in the morning, the whole crew is eating Cinnabons, getting all jacked up on sugar. It was funny.
What is some advice that you could give to apprentices nowadays?
Well, it'd probably be the same advice I gave them 40 years ago. You know, just show up, be on time. You know, don't wait to be told what to do. Look for something to do if you run out of the task that you're currently assigned on. Stay busy, you know, act like the professional you are. You know, just, it's a career, it's not a job. You know, it's a long time event. You know, when I started, I wasn't sure I was going to stay with it, but it didn't take me long to decide that I would. So, and I'm really glad I did. I had no plans for my future. You know, how old was I when I started? 23 when I started in houses.
Wow.
But I was just happy wandering around the country doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
You know, hadn't thought about the future. That's for other people to think about. So, but no, my life turned out very well.
My sidekick. So adorable.